Thank you. And today we have a speaker. His name is John. And I've asked Pascal to come forward and introduce him.
What to tell about this legend sitting right there, right? No, I have the privilege of seeing this man getting into a detox and coming to the Tuesday meeting while I was the secretary at that moment. And I've heard a lot in my recovery that recovery is not for the people who want it. Like, it's for the people who do it. Like, it's not for the people who need it, it's for the people that want it. Recovery is for the people that are doing the work. It is for the people that are willing to take the steps needed to grow, to find God, and to find himself, and to find a purpose within life. Now, I know John now for quite a while, and even for me it's refreshing to see someone coming in with the willingness to do the stuff that is necessary for a recovering life. And he's going to tell a lot about his own story about in a minute. So I'm not going too deep in all of his past and the things that I know about him. But what I want to say is that even for me, being all this time in the program, like, it can be so refreshing to just see someone coming in and just reminds me about what willingness can look like. I can go to a meeting anymore without this guy sitting there. I cannot be in a service committee where he's in service. And it reminds me so much about the person that I was a couple of years ago. Like, when people would say, Martin knows. Like, I can't go anywhere and you're there. Like, and it's the same with John. And it's just such a warrior. Also with an H&I. Like, all the work that he is doing to work on our fifth tradition, to carry the message to the addict that still suffers. It's just amazing. But behind all that, behind everything he does, like, the thing that I found best about John is his John. Like, the genuine care that he has for the people around him. He always tries to see the best within people, always makes time to talk to you. And is just eager to learn. You know, he's so eager to learn about this deal. And I'm just very blessed to call him my friend. Give him a round of applause, everybody.
Wow. Thanks. I'm John, I'm an addict. And emotional right now. And a grateful member of Cocaine Anonymous. This fellowship gives me so much. And if I only talk about what has been given me this weekend, so much love, so much comfort, so much warmth, so much friendship. I see friends I know for a while. I have new friends. I see people now here that I haven't met yet. Amsterdam friends. I even put it on my Instagram. Making memories. Yeah, it's overwhelming. Wouter, thanks for putting me here. It's an honor and privilege to do service for Cocaine Anonymous. I want to tell a little bit about my path to this chair. I was got a suggestion from two different people. I got a suggestion to apply for this. So what do I have to do if I want to be there? And they said then you have to call Wouter and then you have to go to a speaker meeting. But because I had this suggestion, it's how my brain works. From two fellows that I had really high, just over a year ago that I got the suggestion. That on that day, it went in my head and my ego went off with it. And my ego was thinking, oh, I'm gonna be on a stage in my wedding suit, I was not even married yet, and I'm gonna have a golden microphone in my hands. And on that night, I had 3 relapse dreams. And I woke up so fucked up that I thought, well, maybe check my intentions. And my intention is just carry the message. And by carrying the message, contribute on my own recovery. And that is what I'm going to try to do here. And what Pascal said also about HNI, I do a lot of HNI for Cocaine Anonymous, and it's fantastic if people can relate and have something on my story, but I go home with a high of HNI and not wanting to pick up a drink or a drug. This beautiful book, it's gone. it's there now. It tells our stories disclosed in a general way, what we used to be like, what happened and what we are like now. In the part of what happened, up till a couple of weeks ago, I always thought what happened, I had a rock bottom and that's why I came into recovery. But now I think more of what happened, I had a spiritual awakening. So I'm going to try to talk a little bit about a spiritual awakening. I will also talk about my rock bottom because it's fantastic. We'll get to that later. And how it was. This book also speaks about restless, irritable, and discontented. From the get-go, I was restless. I was never at ease. I had a lot of fun, but it was never good enough. I never had enough fun. It always had to be better. It had to be bigger. It was never good enough. And that's been the story of my life. For example, if I take a look at the car, I buy a BMW and X3, feel very good. After a while, I need an X5. Feel very good, but after a while I need an X7. And after the X7 there's nothing. then we need another brand. I cannot fill up this hole inside of me, and I try to do it with everything, with eating, clothes, girlfriends. But so I have to be careful now. Yeah, and I always wanted to be, I was very nervous as a kid. All kinds of tics. I was blinking my eyes very rapidly. I was moving my hands very fast and my legs, and I was wetting my bed until I was 12 years old because I was full of fear. I was nervous, full of fear, but I wanted to stand out. And I'm not wanting to stand out by getting A's in class, but by bullying the teachers and everything. I wanted to be the tough guy. And for that I had to put on all kinds of masks to be that tough guy. In my house, my father is from the First World War, my mother from the Second World War, and they both had a real tough life. They didn't show any vulnerability. It was a different time, and I picked that up and I wrote that in my script. I was not going to be vulnerable. And until 2 years ago, I became 50 years old and I went to a treatment center. There was the first time I think I showed any vulnerability from 13 years of age. Because when I was 13, I discovered marijuana. I didn't like it that much, so I did this for about 7 or 8 years. But not late after that, I also discovered alcohol, and yeah, that was my friend. We kicked it off straight away. I did that a little bit longer for 37 years. And yeah, that was my mask. Then I was the tough guy. I could be the guy I wanted to be. I think I found out pretty soon in my drinking time that I didn't drink like most people do. I was 13 when I started, and at 14 years of age, I already passed out on the street with an empty bottle, that I drank in a minute. I was reading the other day in a paper that a young kid died because of doing that. That could have happened to me, but it did not. And I always said I'm not gonna use hard drugs, hard drug fucking junkies never do that. But I did anyway. It took a while. I think I was in my early 20s before I started hard drugs, and because I'm now at Cocaine Anonymous, my first drink I don't remember exactly, but my first snort of cocaine, I still remember with who I was, where I went, almost what I was wearing, and I felt emotions. The first night I was writing letters to everybody, what I was feeling, and I kept talking to everybody. I even danced. Well, that's a miracle for me. But yeah, I could not handle that very well either, because soon after that I was smoking a crack pipe. And this format that we read, this last thing on the ground that we fell, when I was smoking crack, and when you clean the pipe, you can find something that you can smoke. And my pipe, after I cleaned it, you could bring it back to the store and sell it. I'd like to say that's brought me to the rooms here, but it's not. It was alcohol that brought me to this room. I was 17, then I started living together with a girlfriend. I was 18, I got married, I got a kid, and I was 19, I was divorced. And I could not handle that pain. I went to live on my own for the first time, and that's when the real heavy drinking and everyday drinking started. And I think it already started also with my other addiction. It was Valium, Xanax, and all that crap. Soon after that, my father died. Then I really didn't have a clue anymore. I was lost. I was totally lost. There were no masks anymore to hold up. I was just sitting at home alone, drinking until I fell asleep. Then I met a guy who was in crime. He did some armed robberies. I thought, hey, this sounds interesting. Then I have some money and I don't have to work. So I did that. It seemed like a good idea. And that led me to a path of crime and violence and just mayhem for over 20 years. I've been in prison for almost 10 years. Not consecutive, I did it in 4 times. And all the things I did, all the violence that I used, I always said it's work, it's work. And when I did that, I was not drunk or using anything, but after I did that, I had to drink. So the alcohol was my solution to not feel all the pain. Because somewhere in the back of my mind I knew what I was doing was not right. But I did it anyway. I did everything to numb my feelings. I think all what I say now is with the knowledge that I've learned now. I did not do that intentionally. I didn't have a clue how to, with the loss of a wife or my father, I didn't have a clue how to deal with that, or being happy even. I didn't have a clue to deal with happiness, because if I was happy, I was like, I need to take something. I'll fast forward to my rock bottom, because I also would like to take you on a journey to my steps. It's how I did them and how I see it and how I do them and try to live them. And basically my rock bottom is a part of my step 1. I was on the run for a feeling. I thought I was lovesick still, but I was in self-pity, I know now. I thought I saw this woman. I work with youngsters, and I thought I saw this woman, and I sat in the car with a kid I was working with, and my heart started pounding, I started sweating, I started trembling. And I finished the day working, and I went home, and if I not using any drug, or alcohol. I have other obsessions, and at that period I was in a boxing obsession. So I thought I gotta lose this feeling, I'm gonna go boxing. So I boxed for 2-3 hours and it didn't work. Next morning I went gardening. It's another obsession of mine, what I had. It didn't work. No. It didn't work, and then I knew I have to drink, I have to get rid of this. And I remember I thought I'm not gonna drink so much, so I will only buy 4 bottles of champagne. And and I went to my summer house. I was going to sell my summer house because I was always drinking there too much. And then when the allergy that's described in the book really kicked in, I could not stop anymore. I started drinking and passing out, waking up. I started on a Saturday, and then on Monday I didn't go to work. But because I'm loyal, they knew something was up. So on a Tuesday they came to check on me. And it was summer. So my door was open and they came in and I was passed out on the floor in my house, and they said, if you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot take care of any other kids. So they tore down my contract and I was out of a job. My ex-wife, she said, it's not safe anymore for our kids to come to you, so he's not allowed to come to you anymore. I had a starting relationship for 2 months or something. She said, I can be your friend and I will support you if you're going to seek help. But the relationship, I'm not sure if that's for us. So I was like, I was losing everything I had. Everything I cared for, I was losing or I lost it. After 7 or 8 days, my ex-wife was so worried that she saw that I could not stop and that I was dying. I was literally dying, my body was giving up. I was before that in a health obsession. So before this drinking spree started, I was very fit, very healthy. And in 8 days, there was nothing left. I'm not going to describe everything what happened, there was just nothing left. My ex-wife, she called an ambulance, and the ambulance came, and luckily my heart was going too fast. So they took me to the hospital. They gave me medicine, so the heart calms down, and they said, you're okay, you're good to go. But it was far from okay. I came home in the night, and the whole night I was of course trembling and sweating and things. And 20th of June, my first clean date, I got a delirium. I was sitting in my house and I saw a big spider, thinking, what the fuck? And I was looking under the carpet, and then all spiders came from everywhere, big as my fist. And there was water from the ceiling. I live in like a bungalow. It was 32 degrees, and the water came from the ceiling on my pants, on my head. And that was the moment that I knew I've gone too far. I'm going crazy. I need help. And it took about 2 days before I was able to get help because I could not have the telephone. But after 2 days I was able to call. And I didn't want to go to a 12-step clinic because I saw the word God in it. And I really didn't want to have anything to do with God. I think God is only misery and war and that kind of shit. But I made a list of clinics that I was going to call. The first call was fantastic. And later I found out on that list were 12 clinics. and I called them all, but my head was still in the first one. But they said, you have to wait for 2 months. I said, fuck, I'm going to survive for 2 months doing this. But I think the same day they gave me a phone call, there's an open spot and you can come in for 2 weeks. And so this 2 weeks, after 2 weeks I went to this treatment center, and that's the best present I could ever give myself, because that's where I, for me, started my recovery. And I had to write a letter to my 13-year-old self. And by doing that, I've been crying and crying. All my emotions came. And suddenly I started talking about my criminal life, about my violence, and couldn't stop talking about it. Well, I never talk about that shit. And then psychologist asked me to write down all my violence. I said, yeah, no way. This is a hospital, we have some secrets, we cannot just put it outside. Yeah, maybe I'll write down the things that have already expired, I cannot go to court anymore. But I started writing. I thought, okay, fuck, because Pascal was saying about how I was willing, because I didn't want to die. My life was fucked, but I didn't want to die. If they gave me the suggestion, stand on the roof and put a carrot in your ass, I would have done it. I wanted to stay sober. I wanted to get sober. Luckily, I didn't have to do that. But I had to do some other stuff. I had to write down this violence, and the first day I did it, I started writing and writing and writing, and I felt I felt terrible. It was weighing on my shoulders like a stone, 1,000 kilos. But I had the suggestion: write down one thing and stop. So I picked up that suggestion on the second day because it was too much for me. Because I wanted to fix it. I wanted to write it down and let's talk about it, let's fix this. But they did not. And at a certain point, I wrote down all my violence, and then I came at one thing that was really, nobody knew about me. Since a retreatment a while ago on a campfire, I told some fellows, I told this secret. It's a dark secret, it's not for this room. And then I stopped. I think I have everything, I got everything now. And I basically forgot about it until my last week in the treatment center. They said, John, can you bring the paper with your violence to the what was it called? The process group, yeah. And then I have to, I think it's also part of my step 3, this, because I had to tell my violent one thing, and then I was with the people who worked there and my fellows, and they looked at me and they said, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, and then I had to say, I forgive myself, but I didn't feel anything. But I had 27 things written down, and when I came to about 20, I saw their faces change from very sad until forgiving faces, loving faces. And suddenly I felt it when I say I forgive myself, and I felt it. And so I have a few fellas that are still my friends who were there at that moment, because it was like a rainy day, and suddenly the rain stopped and the clouds came open and the sun shined in, and the room was bright lit, and what the fuck? And then the psychologist, he took me out, he said, we're gonna go for a ride. And I was not paying attention where we're going. And we went to some little church, and I did a prayer, I wrote something in a book. And then I came from the church, and I said, where are we? And then he explained me where we are. I said, one of those 27 things was happened here, like 10 meters there, happened there. And then he said, yeah, God wanted you to be here now. And we sat there on a bench, and I prayed. I was not there yet, I was not there willing to have a God in my life, but I did it. There was a care worker there in that facility that I really liked. We were on a meeting a couple of days ago, he picked up his 4 years, and I said, how do you do this with the higher power? Because in step 2, that I a higher power that can restore me to sanity. He said, well, the fellowship, 2 fellows, my sponsors all bigger than me. I said, okay, I'll do that, that's what I can do. So every time before dinner, before lunch, I prayed and I didn't feel shit, but I was willing. And also, restore to sanity, that means I'm insane. But I'm okay, I just have an alcohol problem. But then when in the clinic, we have to write it all down, and I was driving totally drunk with my son in the car, and when I came from the police station, luckily my best friend answered the phone and he picked me up and he got me out of the police station. First thing I thought, let's get a drink. Well, if that's not insanity, I don't know. Yeah, I can go on with these stories. You know, I one time I blacked out. I woke up on a freeway in the middle of the night with my BMW without diesel, and I called the same friend. He picked up the phone again. He came to save me with some diesel. So how the fuck did you get here? I said, I have no idea. I really have no idea. Once I woke up in Turkey, next to a woman that I really don't know. How did I get? And I was looking at the window. Fuck! I see the sea. I was in a blackout, but I was just walking. I was a dead man walking. I bought some lamps there. I still have the lamps. But yeah, that's so. It's good that I'm restored to sanity a little bit. In my step 3, where I give my will and my life to, I made a decision to do that because it took a while for me. I can grow in this step. You know, I made a decision that I'm going to do it, and yeah, Martin is now here. There was one big part. Was for me very important. When I got 1 year sobriety, I was 13 months sober. I got a pain. And this pain got really terrible, and my at that time girlfriend told me to go to the doctor, but I didn't want to go because now I'm going to go training, and the pain got so bad, so maybe I'll listen and go to the doctor. They investigated me, and they said, well, you have a liver cirrhosis. And I was full of self-pity, and I've been drinking for 37 years, and now I'm sober for 1 year, and now I got fucking liver cirrhosis. And then I called Martin, and he said to me, you built your house of recovery in the sunshine, and now it starts to rain, you can check out where it leaks. And that is what I did. I went back to my step 11, my 10, and also with my sponsor advisors, go back to step 3. And I gave my liver over to God. But what happened was that I was not thinking about it anymore. The pain went away, I was not thinking about it anymore. I did my things, I went to the hospitals, I went for investigation, I went to see another doctor and giving blood and la 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 la. And after 2 months or something, I went back to the hospital for the results. And she said, it's gone. I said, well, how is it possible? She said, we don't know, but it's gone. I said, okay. And that for me is a higher power, you know. If I was in so much pain, and because of giving it to my higher power, I'm not thinking about it anymore. And I can just give it to my higher power. Whatever it is, I still haven't found out what it is, and I will never find out. But it gives me so much comfort to know a power bigger than myself, you know, because I need a power where I can tap in. I see it as the ocean. If I take a cup out of the ocean every day, it will never get empty. And that's how I see my higher power, you know. I tap every day a little bit power. And 2 years ago, if you would say that I was going to say this today, you're going to be totally crazy. But what helped me also a lot in the treatment center, they showed me a movie, and then they saw, you know, the earth and then the sun. That difference is for me unbelievable, but after the sun comes something, and then comes something, and something. And that's endlessly, and I cannot comprehend that, you know. My human brain cannot comprehend what a higher power is, so I let it go, whatever it is. I just know praying and meditating helps me. In the treatment center, a guy came to tell his story. He was so calm, and he told about, he forgave himself for his wrongdoings. And I literally thought, you know, I want what you have, and I had some suggestions from the people who work there, and I asked him as my sponsor. And I'm still grateful that he's still my sponsor. I came from the facility working the steps when I came out. I sometimes say when they set me free from there, but I became free in that facility. Then I started to work on step 4. I love step 4. Sometimes I hear people, you know, it's so difficult and it's so tough. I want to know where I go wrong, because I don't want to ever go back to where I came from. And if I don't want to come back, then I have to learn where I go wrong. In my step 4, I discovered, I'm going to give like a short sum up. I discovered I'm selfish in my hunt for money. I'm selfish in all my relationships. I am insecure on the one hand, but on the other hand, I feel better than all of you. That's a really strange combination. But and I learned also that if I now go in a direction, what I've learned in my step 4, I have a mantra in my head, indien mogelijk omkeren, turn the fuck around. Then I just put another action, because it's not what I think, it's what I do. I had it the other day, it's a little bit difficult, it's sitting next to me. Sometimes I let the program a little bit go, if everything's going fine, I don't need praying, I don't need meditating, not for me. And then I notice, everybody is a motherfucker, and they're not doing this right, and the guys in the committee not working. And then I thought, and my wife is not visiting me all weekend, and I'm not going to WhatsApp her because she's not WhatsApping me. But then I think, but she's at work. She's not visiting because she's at work. She's not on the phone all day because she's working. And my action was, I go to Jumbo, buy a big bouquet of flowers, drive to her and bring her the flowers. And that's indien mogelijk omkeren, turn the fuck around. And there's some character defects came out of that, I just named a few. In step 5, I went to my sponsor, and it was a chilly night. We were sitting on the balcony. I had like a training jacket on. It was a little bit cold, and I told them my darkness, my dark secrets. And the only thing I could feel was warmth and love from my sponsor and from my higher power. And when we finished talking, he said, because it was in a book, he said, do you need this book? I said, no. So close the book and go on with your life. Start living. And that's what I did from that moment. I started living. And the power of step 5 is just, it's unbelievable. I could, not at the moment straight away that I felt it, but on the days after, so many things were let go, and I was feeling so relieved. Like I was, like I lost a lot of weight. In step 6 and 7, if we're talking about these character defects, in 6 and 7, I first have to be willing to let go of them. And then I ask humbly to have them removed, and I know my higher power knows what can stay, where I can learn from, or what can be removed. A lot of things are removed, my hatred and everything is gone. I don't hate any people anymore. And I can pray all I want if I want to be honest, but if I still in the supermarket steal the steaks, then there's no point in praying. I need to put some action in my praying. And I can pray that all my fears will disappear, but if I walk out and there's a guy there standing with a baseball bat, it's good to have some fear and close the door. But God will know what he can remove and what can stay for me. And in step 8, I made a list of obvious things I have harmed. Like I said, I've been at a criminal life for 20-25 years and 37 years of drinking, and it's a pretty long list. I still have a few step 9s to do, because my higher power was helping me also with the step 8, because I was driving somewhere. I thought I was done. I think, okay, I'm done. I gotta call my sponsor. And then I looked. I was staring at a traffic light. I look at the right. I think, what the fuck? Is that her? Oh, I was very bad to her. And then I looked up at my phone. Yeah, I saw a picture. Yeah, that's her. Okay, if I write her down, then I must write her down as well. So the list came a little bit bigger. And in step 9, I'm gonna make amends to people wherever possible. And that gave me so much freedom. I thought I will start with the easy ones and work my way up. And my sponsors thought a little bit different. He said if you throw a rock in the water, you have some wrinkles, and it gets wrinkles and more wrinkles and more wrinkles. Start with your inner circle. So start with your girlfriend, with your ex-wife, with your mother, with your son. So that's what I did. And for example, if I look at my step 9 with my mother, it was a very short conversation. She was very loving and said, do you have to do that the rest of your life? Or do you have to pay money to be there? And she always wants to know how it works, you know. And but I'm making my living amends to her. She's now 80 years old. She needs help. So I go there a minimum of 2 times a week. I do shopping for her. I help her with food. She needs to go to the doctor. I'll be there to bring her to the doctor. Is that always fun? No, hell no. But every time I went to prison, for example, who was there? My mother. Was that a lot of fun? No, hell no. I went to Iceland to prison. She came there to visit me. So now I can be there for her. And she needs me now. So I get goosebumps talking about it. And I'm there for her. And it's really not easy, but I'm doing it. Another step 9 I had was a woman I was obsessed by. I was angry at her for breaking up with me. She broke up 3 times with me in 1 year. 3 times I ended up in the hospital drinking myself to death. And I was scared. She lived in a town called Tilburg. And I hated Tilburg. And if I wanted to go to my summer house, I had to pass Tilburg. But I was so afraid to pass that city that I drove all the way around it. So I took a detour from half an hour to just not go to Tilburg. And I made amends by writing a letter, because it was not safe for her, not safe for me to go there in person. And when I write this letter, 2 months later, she sent me a message on Messenger. She said, "Thank you for your letter. Would you like to do this in person?" And then when I got this, I was strong enough to do it. So I first talked with my sponsor about it, if it was okay to do it. And so I went there. My best friend said, "Hell no, you're not going there," because he knows how I come back from her. But I went there, with hope, faith and courage. And we had a beautiful conversation. We had a short walk in the woods. And nowadays, I go to Tilburg, go to meetings, and that's behind her street. And when I go to the street, I just wish her the best. And sometimes she reaches out, but then I just politely decline, I'm not a guy who's blocking you or whatever. I just take care of myself and I decline. And now I like Tilburg again. So that's what step 9 does for me. In my step 10, that I keep investigating myself, and when we wrong, promptly admit it. But when I came to this treatment center, my head was like a drawer or a cabinet full of drawers, and all these drawers were a fucking mess. And I started to put everything neat, and in the steps to make it very neat, but on a daily basis, those drawers get fucked up again. So I need to put them nice on a daily basis. And sometimes when I wrong promptly admit it, it's usually to the same guy. I have to say sorry to my son because I'm living with him, and sometimes I'm not that nice. But I said it right, and I try to do my best to change. And as in the big book says, then in the morning I take a review of my day with God, and along the way, if I get angry or whatever, I talk to God. And in an ideal picture, I do that on a daily basis. But I would be lying if I do that. Like I said before, if I'm okay, I'll skip that. But if I skip that a little bit too long, I know when I'm in the line in the supermarket, everybody is slow, they're all motherfuckers. In traffic, nobody can drive except me.
Guilty.
And if I think they're motherfuckers, then it's already time to do something. But if the worst became worse, then it's really time. and then I just pick it up again, and I'm fine again, because it's always. I was one time in a traffic jam, and I was so upset, and then I just parked my car in a gas station. I meditated, I prayed, and I went back in the same traffic jam, and everybody was nice again. But those people have not changed. I changed again. Yeah, and in step 12, I had this spiritual awakening, and I try to carry the message, and that's what I love to do. You know, I said before, I go to HNI a lot. I really love doing that. I do it with a lot of passion. I have a shitload of sponsors. That's sometimes less fun, but still I love it. But that's the easy part. The second part is step 12, you know, applying all these principles in all my affairs. That's the difficult part. But if I'm okay on that part, then is when my serenity starts, you know. Then I most of the days, I have now a smile on my face from ear to ear, but if I can do that right, to the best of my ability, then I'm such a happy guy, you know. And when I came in this program, I wanted to stop drinking, using, and what was the result? I became happy. And that's also what the book says, happy, joyous, and free. And if I go back, what this program brings me, you know, how I am now, if I go back to my rock bottom, I lost my job. I made amends also there, because people were counting on me and I was not there, so I made amends with 3 or 4 people from my work. After I made this amends, all kinds of new things came on my path. I didn't apply for anything, it really came on my path. I've been trying to open up a restaurant run by troubled youth for 7 or 8 years, but never succeeded, because I never get a permit because of my criminal career. Now I went to a company, and there was like a big American school bus, and I said, what is that? Yeah, that's a food truck. It's standing here for 5 years eating dust, and we want to sell it. Do you have any ideas for that? I said, well, hell yeah. And now I'm driving the food truck, and I am in the food truck with with most young guys, you know, who have these ankle bracelets, and I also have now some I was going to say ex-criminals, but maybe they're still criminals. But at least they try to do good, and we go out and we sell some food, and from the money we make, we buy groceries and we make food and we give it to the poor people. So that's such a rewarding, and so and when I let go of my selfish hunt for money, when I let that go, they pay me ridiculous amount every month, and I think, what? So I'm also grateful for that. And then my son, he was not allowed to come and visit me anymore. He's now for 1.5 years, he lives together with me, and my ex-wife, she's totally okay with that, and we sometimes have a hard time, but we're managing, you know, we're coping, we will get there. We will get there for sure. And then I had this girlfriend for 2 months that was not sure what she was going to do. We got married in February. And we have a relationship for like now, what, 26 months. Not one time I've been annoyed. Of course she's fantastic, but also I have changed. You know, normally I could not have a relationship for a weekend, maybe a week maximum. And now in over 2 years, not one time annoyed. I was just telling her when we would put our luggage in the car, I said, I'm really grateful for that we can do this like this. Because in all my other relationships, you know, putting luggage to a car and cleaning out a room. Fucking hell, what an order. But we do it smiling. Putting up a tent together. We can do that. yeah, my life has just changed so much. You know, all my relationships changed with my kids. With my oldest son, who I didn't see for 2 years, I have now. Now I come to think of it, it's a time also to do step 9 with my oldest son. We our relationship is growing and growing, and I think it's time we have that chat as well. Yeah, it's just fantastic what this program brings me. It's so much love, and I never knew really love, you know. I love my kids, I love my dog, but real love from people, you know. I have a friend here in the room. We tell each other on a weekly basis that we love each other. Alleen maar liefde. And saying that to a guy is for me. But saying it and really meaning it. Really meaning it. And I would like to close on. I have a friend. I know from a Zoom meeting. She's dying at the moment of cancer. We have a group around her that we want to give her love, but what is happening? She's giving us love. She's bringing the group closer to each other. She asked me to read my favorite poem on her funeral, but my favorite poem was also read in my marriage. So I would like to end the meeting with me reading that poem, because I feel this poem in every vein of my body. I'm going to read it for Amina, and if you have time, please pray for Amina. I think I put it here. I hope so. It's a little bit long poem to know by heart. I lost my glasses, so I'm not a gangster, but Desiderata. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence, as far as possible without surrender. Be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others. Even to the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons, they are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be a greater and lesser person than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the whole world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond the wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it's clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. And whatever your labors and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it's still a beautiful road. Be cheerful, strive to be happy.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John, for this amazing share. Thank you. I would like to close by having Steph to read for us the St. Francis prayer.
Grateful for this man in our community. I think on Friday morning I messaged him like the stupidest questions, like how many people are going to be here, and he answered all of my questions. Like John always answers, you know, so thank you. I'm Steph, I'm an addict. Prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred I may bring love, that where there is wrong I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, and that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds. It is by forgiving that one is forgiven, and it is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. After a moment of silence for the addict who still suffers, John will...